1 day per week, we raise caloric intake from high quality food sources to actually spark greater rates of fat burning. And the high calorie day is something that our clients have really enjoyed while using the 21-day fat cell cleanse nutrition system, because not only does it help to accelerate rates of fat burning, it makes them feel good. Right? So we want to understand that it's important to have a high quality of life while you're trying to lose body fat to make the plan sustainable. And one of the big mistakes that many people make, or most people, is they get caught in a low calorie hell. They stall out their metabolism and they keep too many factors the same over and over again. So understand, the body is a very dynamic mechanism. It doesn't want to lose body fat unless you send the right signals. And eating too little for a sustained period of time will stall out fat burning because the body thinks you're starving, and its number one priority is always to preserve survival. So 1 day per week, Dr. Serrano and I recommend using a higher calorie day from high quality food sources. This is a mechanism where we use macronutrient cycling. So the high calorie day is actually dietary fat loading. And what are we trying to do with that? We're trying to keep dietary fat intake up in terms of organic sources. We have the same schedule like we would on any other day of the week, using 2 meals. We want that to be a weight training day to take full advantage of the increased food intake. So we want to concentrate on organic beef, organic chicken, or free range chicken and so forth, avocado, nuts that do not have soybean oil or canola oil. Shrimp's also good. Any kind of seafood that's wild caught is preferable. And we use an unlimited amount of green vegetables any day of the week, and you can use grass-fed butter with those. So while we're on the topic of calories, this is a common question I get. How many calories should I consume? Well, it depends on a lot of factors. How active are you? How much lean body mass that you have, and so forth. But it's something that we address in the files that you can see when I send them to you, to give you some guidance as to what to do. The other factor is most people are not very good about tracking the actual amount of calories. They make estimations and they're off. So if you're somebody that really wants to get into the details in terms of caloric intake, be my guest, but you better be prepared to weigh things out. I have an alternative strategy. Based on the success of many clients now, going over almost 25 years, I know that calories are one factor of many that influence your rate of body fat loss. So what I like to do in general is to use plants that have a high amount of green vegetables, protein, and dietary fats from the right sources, and that makes people fuller faster. It also stabilizes their blood sugar and insulin levels, so guess what? They're not artificially hungry. That's one of the things that knocks people off track with any kind of fat loss plan, is they're hungry and their energy levels are low. Well, if you do things correctly and use the EZ14 and the Alpha Omega M3 with your meals, and you make the right food choices, you're going to have great energy levels. You're not going to crave stuff, and that's going to make a plan so much easier to follow. So understand, primarily, one of the things that raises insulin, which is your body's most potent fat storage hormone, is carbohydrate. Combining carbohydrate with a high amount of saturated fat perhaps can make that even worse. Insulin is the body's most potent fat storage hormone. It also increases hunger. So the Alpha Omega M3 is very important, and the EZ14 with your meals, to naturally optimize insulin sensitivity to keep those fat storage hormones in check. So one of the things to keep in mind, you're starting the 21-day fat cell cleanse. You want to hit things with the ground running. Understand, if you had a wild holiday season or a wild period of eating before you start this plan, your insulin levels can be very high for many days, if not weeks. So it takes time to bring them into check. Once you do, you're going to be burning body fat like crazy, along with many other factors that you're using. But in general, I try and tell people, get an idea for what your protein sources are in terms of, the caloric content, so that way you're not constantly measuring things. You know what your dietary fat intake is based on a couple of servings, and the green vegetables are unlimited. You don't need to count those. But the high calorie day, 1 day per week, you should probably have 20 to 30% more food than what you have on a regular day with the dietary fat loading, and it's fantastic for fat burning, and you're going to feel great. So remember, dietary fat loading is something Dr. Serrano developed to help the body utilize more stored fat as fuel. So think of it this way. When the body takes in a lot of dietary fat from good sources, the body boosts its ability to produce fat-burning enzymes. And those fat-burning enzymes go through the roof right? I mean, they really skyrocket high because they got to handle all these good dietary fats. And when you return to, let's say, a more normal day of eating, like you would on a base day with a 21-day fat cell cleanse, those fat-burning enzymes are still elevated for many days. And what do they have to do? Well, they've got to go after stored fat to burn. So a very potent way to spike metabolism and to increase fat-burning enzymes. So I would do the high calorie day 1 day per week, perhaps on a Saturday. And you can do 2 or 3 meals on the high calorie day. I've done both for clients, and of course that's something you want to discuss in terms of how to use the high calorie day. Email me, we can discuss it, I'll help you. Scott@infinityfitness.com.